My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. Instead of supporting and advocating and using all its political influence to further the Voting Rights Amendment Act of 2015, introduced by John Conyers, Jim Sensenbrenner, and other actually bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats. Let's find out what took place with that. All three actions, there's only three things that took place: introduced in the House, referred to the House Committee on the Judiciary, and in March 16, 2015, referred to the Subcommittee on the Constitution and Civil Justice. Why is this important? The bill is to amend the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to revise the criteria for determining which states and political subdivisions are subject to Section 4 of the Act and for other purposes. This is very important to African American voters within the Democratic Party. This is a Washington Post article. Actually, a Washington Post article by John Conyers. Jim Sensenbrenner. Without a modernized Voting Rights Act, there's no such thing as an honest election. Jim Sensenbrenner, actually a Republican, wrote this in the Washington Post. I'll get to why I'm bringing this up in a second, and what this has to do with Stormy Daniels. On Tuesday, Americans will elect a president without full protections of the Voting Rights Act. The last time that happened, they were deciding between Lyndon Johnson and Barry Goldwater more than half a century ago. In 2013, the Supreme Court declared that voter discrimination was no longer a problem and effectively struck down the only portion of the act designed to stop discrimination before it affects an election. The court let stand the provisions of the act that allow lawsuits after discriminatory law takes effect, but unfortunately the United States has learned the hard way that there is no satisfactory cure for discrimination after an election occurs. Whether or not you agree with me or not, I'm going to put this article below. The issue is not whether it's not about a left or right issue at this point right now. It's about what the Democratic Party stands for, which is nothing. Which is, if Mueller doesn't get him, Stormy Daniels will. Democrats are going to lose in 2020 and very likely going to lose the House. They might get the House, but they'll lose the Senate and they won't get Congress back, which will circumvent decades of history and just prove how worthless they are as a political party because they stand for nothing. Getting to Stormy Daniels, there's a whole lot of issues regarding Stormy Daniels that highlight the fact the Democratic Party is just a money-making, money-laundering. Well, the Clinton Foundation is a criminal enterprise, but they don't focus on policies. They focus on policies when it is only politically expedient. They don't stand for anything. Trump stands for building a wall. They had three chances during Obama's 8 years. Three. It was 2010, 2013, and then another year. 3 times in 8 years. Actually, I think only twice, because I might be counting once under Bush, where they tried to work for comprehensive immigration reform. And then, well, we can go on forever regarding that. Experts say Stormy Daniels' payout could have violated election law. So this is what they're focusing on. They're not focusing on policies. You think they're going to talk, and the thing is, they talk about, oh my God, look at these white nationalists, look at these white supremacists. They only care about that because it's this propaganda blitz that, oh, Trump is emboldening these people. These people were just emboldened. These people were emboldened, and they have zero political influence, and they're always going to exist. Racist people are always going to exist, whether it's Bush, Obama, Trump, the history of the country. There's always going to be racist people. It's not Trump that emboldens them. It's the lack of a value system from a side that is supposed to oppose them. The Democratic Party is supposed to oppose these people, and all they're talking about is Stormy Daniels. This is a long-winded kind of backdrop to the following. Experts say Stormy Daniels' payout could have violated election law. Why? Why? Some legal experts believe the $130,000 payout to adult film star Stormy Daniels as part of a non-disclosure agreement regarding an alleged affair with President Trump could have violated federal election law. Well, are we entitled to know all the sexual activity of Hillary Clinton? And enjoy your week with that visual. Lawyers, professors, and election law experts told NBC News, yeah, because NBC News only asked the lawyers and experts that would tell them this is a big deal, that there is enough to the circumstances around the payment made by Trump's organization, longtime attorney Michael Cohen, shortly before the 2016 presidential election, that it could have violated campaign laws. Well, which laws? Which laws? This is the Hill article. There's enough here to There's enough here that warrants investigation. University of California Irvine law professor Richard Hassan told NBC. Hassan said the key issue is whether the payment was made by Cohen in an effort to help the campaign by silencing Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford. Well, obviously it is, but she signed an NDA. If that is the case, Hassan told the payment would exceed the federal limits for individual campaign donations. How would it? It's a campaign donation because they had sex, and she signed. It was like essentially a business transaction. It's essentially a business transaction. So, Cohen confirmed that he made the payment to Daniels, saying that he transferred the funds from his home equity line. Daniels sued Trump last. Cohen confirmed that he made the payment to Daniels, saying that he transferred the funds from his home equity line. Okay. Daniels sued Trump last week. So, all right. Daniels sued Trump last week, saying that the non-disclosure agreement about the alleged affair was void because Trump hadn't signed the agreement. Well, if it's void, why doesn't she then disclose whatever she has? Obviously, she is worried about a lawsuit regarding a non-disclosure agreement. First of all, if there's a non-disclosure agreement that was signed long before the campaign, then there was already an agreement for silence. So how would that affect the federal election laws if there was already a non-disclosure agreement? Furthermore, this is about sex and a business transaction, essentially. She accepted the money. Why did she accept the money? And furthermore, she could have, if she believes the NDA was null and void, why didn't she just go out a day before, 2 days before the election, and say I had sex with Trump? That wouldn't have mattered anyway. But others know he would have won anyway. He was on tape saying, "I grab women by the you know what," and he still won. So, and then they twist that into, oh, he's bragging about sexual assault. A little bit different. How many people? It's not bragging about sexual assault. It's a ridiculous, crazy type of banter that he's either lying about, or if he's telling the truth, where are all these women saying, "Oh my God, this guy grabbed me by the you know what?" Whereas you have one progressive voice, Cenk Uygur, who actually wrote that he got drunk and felt up countless breasts at Mardi Gras. Specific time, specific place, specific location. But nobody's saying that he is this rampant sexual assault, sexual predator. Anyway, others noted the payments could be legal if Trump used his own money, given the lack of limits for contributions that candidates can give to their own campaigns. What about Michael Cohen's money? Trump can use his own money, but not Michael Cohen's money, but could constitute a federal crime if Trump failed to disclose it in his federal campaign filings. Are you kidding me? This is the issue. Hillary Clinton, and yes, everything relates to Clinton. If you're not bringing up Clinton every second, you know nothing about politics. Because that's the reason Democrats lose. That's the reason this country is talking about Russia. Clinton did infinitely worse. She practically owned the Democratic National Committee. The Democratic National Committee was her campaign. That also breaks campaign finance laws. And, correct the record, was an arm of her an extension of her campaign, which violates numerous laws. And you have election watchdogs saying that. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, Watchdog, filed official complaint with the department this week asking for an investigation into whether Trump intentionally withheld, and I believe this is the same organization that went after Clinton also, this week asking for an investigation into whether Trump intentionally withheld the payment from his public financial reports, saying he could have broken the law if the undisclosed payment was a loan. Saying he could have broken the law if the undisclosed payment was a loan. It wasn't a freaking loan. So he didn't break the law. A loan to Stormy or a loan to Michael Cohen? Have fun proving that one. This is the thing. They're like, oh, well, he's just as bad. Nobody is saying that Trump is a choir boy. Nobody is saying that he doesn't engage in this type of activity. But it's apples and oranges. You're focusing on Stormy Daniels signing an NDA and getting paid for sex, or getting paid to be quiet, or essentially getting paid for sex. She takes the $130,000. Democrats in the House Judiciary Committee and Women's Working Group also requested information on the payment in a letter to Cohen this week that said Trump could potentially have violated tax laws and opened himself up to possible blackmail over. No, and there's no blackmail when it comes to an NDA that's signed by somebody. Furthermore, Stormy Daniels could have easily just said, "I'm just going to go ahead and speak." She took the money. She took the money because she needed the money. $130,000 doesn't grow on trees. And furthermore, did she spend the money? Somebody should ask. Very simple. You want to go ahead and focus on the money trail for Trump. How is she being reimbursed right now? Did anyone in the Democratic Party reimburse her? Because we know that there have been people tied to Democrats regarding Trump scandals. Women tied to the Democratic operatives regarding Trump scandals. Did the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels break the law? So this one watchdog group says he could have broken the law if the undisclosed payment was a loan. It wasn't a freaking loan to either Stormy. It certainly wasn't a loan to Stormy Daniels, and it wasn't a loan to Michael Cohen. He said that he took it off as a line of credit. Who knows? The plausible deniability works for Democrats. Could have been that he was just doing as a favor for Trump, or I don't know. Who knows what kind of dumb excuse? Hillary Clinton said she didn't know what the C meant. If we're going to play that game, then play the game. People say, oh, HA, you're a traitor. No. Play the game. Play the game. And once you lose enough, you'll realize that the way you play is far dirtier. The way you play plunges the country into a never-ending Cold War with Russia. The way you play cheats Bernie Sanders. The way you play outspends Trump 2-1 and then brags about the popular vote but loses the election. The Democrats sling mud while at the same time they have a mountain full of manure. And they say, oh, look at that mud. And there's this stinking pile of manure that's like Mount Everest behind them. They're far more corrupt. They're focusing on Stormy Daniels when for the past, since the 90s, all you've heard was, it was only a blowjob, it was only a blowjob. Biggest hypocrites on the planet. Did the $130,000 payment, so like I explained for 4 minutes in the beginning of this segment, Voting Rights Amendment Act? Heck no. Stormy Daniels? Heck yeah. Did the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels break the law? The new revelations about President Trump is so. At first, you think it's like so insane, but then they suck you into this whole thing. You know, oh my God, Trump's going to win easily in 2020. He's not going to get impeached. Clinton will get indicted, so you can mark that down. Hillary Clinton will get indicted because there are actually ongoing investigations right now. So there's not an ongoing investigation in the FBI for Stormy Daniels. There's not an ongoing investigation in the FBI right now regarding Trump-Russia collusion. There's a Mueller probe. But that's a joke. Even Maxine Waters stated, well, you know what? If Mueller doesn't get him, then Stormy will. Okay, we'll see. There's an ongoing FBI investigation right now for the Clinton Foundation, an ongoing DOJ investigation for Clinton emails. Clinton will get indicted. And they're going to... it'll be like the election times 10. Because everything they're trying to do to Trump, eventually we'll find out it was Clinton who broke laws that pertain directly to national security. Major violations. Anyway, that's the writings on the wall there. The new revelations about President Trump and his lawyer's payment to a porn star who says she had an affair with Trump have prompted campaign finance watchdogs. Okay. On Monday, Common Cause filed updated complaints with the Federal Election Commission and the Department of Justice, arguing that the lawsuit filed last week by adult film actress Stormy Daniels demonstrated that $130,000 payment to her broke election laws. What about the $1 million for Correct the Record? It's always worse for Democrats, and nothing ever happens. That's why they lost the election. Even President Obama, when he was campaigning, I believe it was in Vegas. This is an Atlantic article. I quoted this article a million times in the Huffington Post when I was writing endlessly. And it was David Plouffe, or one of the Obama campaign officials, saying, yeah, they're known, Hillary Clinton is known to just, bend the law and engage in the shadiest practices. So what took place was something to, I can spend a second to look, but I won't right now. People went to the wrong location because Clinton directed them, or if some weird thing took place that took votes away from Obama in Nevada. But anyway, another group, Citizens for the Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, argues that Trump may have run afoul of rules requiring him to list personal debts on a financial disclosure form. The whole set of circumstances raises a number of red flags about potential campaign violations that merit further investigation. Okay, this is insane. This is insane. If you want to go there, I wrote an article in the Daily Caller detailing all the election. I'll just tell you, here it is. I'll put it below. Hillary Clinton should be indicted for breaking campaign finance laws. So not only is there the issue of Fusion GPS, and I explain this below. Go ahead and share this everywhere. Fusion GPS, she spent, Correct the Record, a $6 million professional research operation. So the Campaign Legal Center, the Campaign Legal Center demanded the Federal Election Commission investigate Clinton's ties to David Brock's Correct the Record. The watchdog filed a complaint to the FEC since, quote, Correct the Record is effectively an arm of the Clinton campaign, and $1 million plus contributions to the super PAC are indistinguishable from contributions directly to Clinton and pose the same risk of corruption. In addition to being viewed as an arm of the Clinton campaign, Correct the Record was described as a, quote, $6 million professional opposition research. So we're supposed to focus only on frickin' Stormy Daniels and $130,000, but a $6 million extension of Clinton's campaign that breaks campaign finance laws, that should just not be looked into. I wrote an article on that. That should not be looked into. That there's no investigation there. Well, she's not president. So effing what? We're talking about Russia because of that. So all of this is completely ridiculous. A joint account. In fact, Hillary Victory Fund is actually a joint account between the D.N.C. and Clinton, with donations reaching $350,000 in donors. So, this was a pretty detailed article. I wrote it a while ago, and 82. So I actually brought up $82 million. That's right. So when the D.N.C. was saying, the Democrats were saying, oh, you got to give to down-ticket Democrats. Or Bernie Sanders never gave to down-ticket Democrats. I quote this: state parties kept less than 0.5% of the $82 million raised through the arrangement. She got over $81 million, or over $80 million. That was meant, this was when the DNC and the Democratic Party campaigned alongside Hillary Clinton, and money went to Clinton. She kept almost all of it, and it was supposed to go to down-ticket Democrats. Right. So that, okay, $82 million, no problem. $6 million professional opposition research, correct the record, no problem. And you want to talk about Russia bots? The most vile and disgusting trolls online were correct the record. Then there's The Intercept. Oh, there's Priorities Action USA. Okay, so $200,000 in banned. In addition, the Hills, Harper, Nedick, and Jonathan Swan reported that Priorities USA accepted $200,000 in banned donations. So go ahead and share this article. Perkins Coie is another issue. She transferred money. I'll do another segment on this today. Hillary Clinton transferred millions of dollars through Perkins Coie to pay for Fusion GPS, for the Steele dossier. And Andrew McCarthy, I quote him, in any event, you could see the problem here for Democrats who for a year have chanted that the Trump campaign collusion with Russia mantra, strip away the buffers, i.e. Steele and Perkins Coie, and the dossier is an exercise in Clinton campaign collusion with Kremlin-connected sources to produce information that would cripple the Trump campaign, and failing that, undermine the Trump presidency. And she didn't pay directly. She didn't notify anyone that she was paying for the dossier. There are no election. She didn't notify the Federal Election Commission. So she pays for a dossier, and the Federal Election Commission doesn't know that she's paying for the dossier through her law firm, and you're worried about frickin' Stormy Daniels? Honestly, the hell with these people. They're the most corrupt and vile people. It doesn't even matter right now. I don't even necessarily agree with Trump's policies. I don't think we need a wall, and I actually lean towards more towards Bernie Sanders' policies. But this is an issue where, I mean, not only has Bernie's movement been completely obliterated, it really has. There's no bite to it. It's just a bunch of whining and complaining, with the Democratic Party basically hovering, saying, you go ahead and whine, let it all out, let it whine, complain, just go ahead, tell us how you feel. And you have this is hilarious. There's people who got upset that are like, pro-Bernie Sanders surrogate journal H.A. Goodman writes for conservative outlet Daily Caller now. I was published many times in the Daily Caller. That's great. I'm very proud. Why would that be an issue? Bill Kristol is part of the Democratic Party. He's a neoconservative. No one cares. That's the thing. They're like the cult picks and chooses the outrage. All right, let me just go ahead back to this. Another group argues that Trump may have... Okay, so the whole set of circumstances raise a number of red flags. An excessive campaign contribution. Under federal election law, an individual can donate more than $2,700 directly to Trump, as $130,000 payment would far exceed that limit. It wasn't to Trump, so what does that even mean? This isn't to Trump's campaign. He had sex with Stormy. But the Federal Election Commission would have to weigh whether the payment was indeed about influencing the election. In her lawsuit, Daniels says it was. No. Stormy Daniels, all Trump's lawyers have to do is this. Why didn't you sign an NDA, first of all? And why didn't you, if you feel the NDA is null and void, just go ahead and just tell your story? And anyway, didn't she already tell her story to People magazine years prior? So she's the one who is all over the place in terms of making this a big issue. Oh, it wasn't an issue when it happened. She actually did a People magazine article. And now it's, oh my God, it's hush money. Oh my God. Just days before the election, Daniels and Cohen signed what she called a hush agreement. She signed the agreement. Why did she sign the agreement? For the money. The money paid to Daniels flowed through Essential Consultants, a limited liability company that Cohen created. So they're obviously, Trump was obviously paying her to be quiet. That's obvious. The issue here is, why did she agree? Her agreeing is not campaign finance violations. This is not correct the record being an extension of the Clinton campaign or Clinton paying Perkins Coie for the dossier. These are issues directly related to the campaign, to the election, because one is they're all opposition research, and even if you say, well, this is directly related to the election, where's the merger of Republican National Committee, the Trump campaign, and this? Where's the merger here? He had his attorney. She had her attorneys delete 33,000 emails. Are they going to go and be indicted under the Espionage Act? They should. It's Clinton who eventually will be indicted either under the Espionage Act or the RICO laws or whatever. But I mean, this is the thing. You want to go ahead and, their whole thing is, oh my God, look how dirty he is. It's all relative. Yay. It's all there. Yeah, Clinton's dirty, but so is Trump. And I'd rather have somebody who, at least has some of my policies, even though they're both disgusting. No, Trump engaged in shady activity in this respect. Yes. But it's not as egregious. It's not even close to the millions of dollars. It's not even close to cheating Bernie Sanders, pocketing $200 million from Bernie voters, using that money to pay for the Steele dossier, which was compiled with Russian sources, and then not notifying the Federal Election Commission. That's millions of dollars flowing through Perkins Coie, and then not notifying the Federal Election Commission, and then influencing the intelligence community for a FISA warrant for Carter Page. This is just insanity. What they do is like, it's the equivalent of it's the equivalent of a 10-year-old stealing a Snickers and then his friend borrowing the Snickers. The friend would be Trump. Or, the friend saying, oh, thanks for getting me that Snickers. And Al Capone in Hillary Clinton. That's the biggest criminal mastermind. And then somebody who just picks up a dollar bill or something on the ground when that dollar bill is somebody else's. It's completely irrelevant. Just days before the election, Daniels and Cohen signed what she calls a hush agreement. Well, then that's not anything to do with campaign finance. She decided, they didn't force her. It was her decision. She could have simply spoken to the press. She decided not to. Therefore, where's the violation of laws? He's supposed to go out and say, by the way, I had sex with Stormy? That's the thing. That's what he's supposed to do. Well, you violated the federal election laws. You actually didn't disclose these sexual positions and exactly what you did. How dare you, Trump? Meanwhile, Clinton is like the most secretive, paranoid person, deletes 33,000 government records, literally tells the FBI she doesn't know what the C means, lies to the FBI. It's unbelievable. But see, at the end of the day, the corruption can only go so far. They're focusing on this. It's hilarious. This is not an issue that's going to get people to the polls. So I don't care what happens tomorrow in Pennsylvania. It's still an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle for the House. And even if they get the House, a majority in the House for impeachment, fine. They're not going to get the majority. But let's say they get the majority in the House for impeachment. and let's say they own the House, they get a majority in the House for impeachment, and then it goes to the Senate. They're still not going to get the Senate this year. So then there you go. And you need 2/3 of the Senate. Sorry, not a majority of the Senate. You need 2/3 of the Senate. Have fun getting 2/3 of the Senate when you don't even control the Senate. And if you barely control the Senate, you won't get 2/3. But anyway, the money paid to Daniels was flowed through Essential Consultants, a limited liability company that Cohen created in Delaware several weeks before the election. All right. How is this? Why does he have to disclose this? This is an agreement that has nothing to, that essentially they could say has nothing to do with the election. She wanted the money. Stormy Daniels obviously wanted $130,000. She obviously negotiated, and if it was, it's not hush money if you're willing to just go ahead and take the money when you can simply say, hey, look, I had sex with the Republican candidate for president, the Republican nominee for president. Why didn't she disclose that issue? How is this the $80 million that Clinton stole from down-ticket Democrats, or the money from Perkins Co., or the $6 million in the correct record and extension? It's just, like, it's like you look at Al-Qaeda, and then like it's like this, oh my God, you're overcharging for the lemonade stand. Oh, SWAT team. It's very strong evidence that this was about the election. Yeah, it was about the election, very likely. But if they use the same plausible deniability Clinton uses, then no. How do you know? No, it was the lawyer. Can't prove anything, said Larry Noble, a former Federal Election Commission lawyer who is now senior director of nonprofit. If he was not running for the election, they would not have done this. That's wrong. He would have done this even if he was not running for the election. So that if that's the case, then that's 100%. Then there's no criminal activity then. If the one because if he's had this agreement before with other people, then which he probably does. If the $130,000 payment came from Trump himself, the payment did not violate the law on contribution limits. Candidates can put unlimited amounts of their own money into campaigns, but Trump's campaign and Cohen could be in legal jeopardy if Cohen or another unnamed party was the source of the money. Well, then that's not good, because it says right there because Cohen's saying that it was a line of credit. Cohen has offered partial explanation in recent weeks about the funds. Earlier this year, he said he used his own money to facilitate payment and was not reimbursed by either Trump's campaign. Last week, he offered more details, saying that he used his home equity line of credit to pull together the money for Cohen's statements have been silent on whether Trump or anyone else paid him back later. The Wall Street Journal, citing unnamed sources, reported last week that Cohen complained to friends after the election that he had not been reimbursed. Did Trump's company play a role? Disclosure violations. Okay, so will anyone investigate? Give me your thoughts below. That's not clear. The Federal Election Commission, down to just 4 commissioners from its normal 6-person strength, typically deadlocks along party lines, whether it considers potential campaign violations. So you have a litany of campaign violations with Clinton that are multi-million-dollar campaign violations, some in tens of millions of dollars. She controlled the D.N.C. So what is this about? If this is about the rule of law, go after the bigger fish, the person who's committed far more crimes that involve far greater amount of money, millions and millions, in some cases tens of millions of dollars with Clinton. And it's not just one campaign violation, it's numerous campaign violations that are egregious. You can ask anyone at these campaign watchdog groups, well, who has done worse, Clinton or Trump? Well, they'll say Clinton, but you know what? It's not about that. It's just about, they're all bad. And anyway, this is not about the failed to disclosure violations. A variety of federal election laws demand truth-telling when reporting information to the government. Yeah, we'll tell that to Clinton's campaign. Campaign finance watchdogs say the payment could violate the election disclosure laws. Kind of like, millions and millions through Perkins Coie to buy the Steele dossier. which require reporting. And also the DNC bought the Steele dossier too. It wasn't just Clinton. You have a political party buying the Steele dossier. It's Clinton and the DNC. Where's the outrage? In addition, if Cohen was never reimbursed, the $130,000 payment should have appeared on Trump's financial disclosure statement as an unpaid personal debt. Okay. This is a message to the Trump campaign. If you don't go ahead and just abide by the law, and if you don't expedite, if there's an ongoing FBI, DOJ, Clinton Foundation, and FBI, Clinton Foundation, and DOJ email probes. If one of the biggest criminals in U.S. history doesn't simply, the evidence is there. If she's not simply indicted based on evidence, based on the rule of law, based on all the crimes she's committed and the evidence linking to those crimes, which Rudy Giuliani and even Jeff Sessions has stated, the Clinton Foundation. Jeff Sessions stated this before. The Clinton Foundation is a money laundering operation. He stated something similar to that on CNN, but Rudy Giuliani stated that verbatim. That RICO laws, he could go and bribery statutes, he can, to the public record. If Trump's campaign doesn't do this, doesn't indict Clinton, or if Trump's DOJ doesn't indict Clinton, you're talking about never-ending madness pertaining to, oh my God, where did the money emanate from Stormy Daniels' payment? And so this is the type of issue that could actually do in Trump. It won't, but it's the type of issue. It won't because of the Mount Everest of corruption on the other side, and the fact that Trump's DOJ will very likely indict Clinton long before any of this actually ends up hurting him, which needs to take place, or else this will hurt him. But this is the type of situation, if justice is not served with Clinton, that is like the never-ending reach of the most vapid. It's just like this never-ending corruption that they focus on the tiniest of things, whereas the biggest, most egregious crimes are overlooked. And if Trump's DOJ doesn't go ahead and simply look at the evidence, major evidence of major crimes related to national security that hurt national security. When Clinton was Secretary of State, she harmed national security because of her actions and broke and violated laws with the Clinton Foundation, with the emails. You want to go with federal election and campaign laws? Go ahead. Clinton violated those with the Steele dossier and Perkins Coie. So before the Stormy Daniels issue, which is not even, if they want to go and say, well, the money, okay, I'm going on forever. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening.